5, 6, 7, 8.
Welcome to the EX Podcast, where every week I talk with business leaders, authors, and disruptors on how the workplace is changing. This podcast brings a different lens to the conversation around HR transformation, company culture, and employee engagement. It offers a brand and customer experience perspective rather than a traditional HR perspective. Why? Because companies have to think of themselves as employment brands if they hope to attract and retain talent. It is time we put people first to rehumanize the workplace. Simply because leaders who don't care about their employees will eventually be surrounded by people who don't care about their business. Today's guest is Pat Wadors. She is the Chief Talent Officer at ServiceNow, the fastest growing enterprise cloud software company in the world. ServiceNow delivers digital workflows that create great experiences and unlock productivity to more than 5,000 customers worldwide. Today with Pat, we talk about what's the culture like in a high-growth company, her advice to HR leaders on where to start in their employee experience journey, the place of technology in the employee experience, what diversity, inclusion, and belonging means to ServiceNow, how the company leverages employee data, AI, to drive employee engagement, and finally, how to measure the impact of your EX initiatives on the overall business performance. Support for this podcast is brought to you by Culture Amp. Eliminate the guesswork of company culture with Culture Amp, the world's largest independent employee feedback platform. Culture Amp goes beyond aggregating survey results to deliver rich insights and data-driven action plans on an easy-to-use interface. With a powerful platform, science-backed surveys, and a focus on its customer success, Culture Amp helps you increase employee engagement and build a positive company culture. Start developing a deep understanding of your employees' experience today by visiting cultureamp.com/future. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Pat. And because it takes a good amount of time to produce this podcast, please make sure to review the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or YouTube, as it will help promote the content. If you want me to speak at your next event, get some advice on your EX initiatives, or send me feedback, suggestions for future topics or guests, you can reach me at svincent@exsummit.com or on Twitter at @EX_summit. All right, let's get to it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the EX Podcast. Very excited for today's guest, Pat Wadors. Pat is calling from Santa Clara in California, and she is the Chief Talent Officer at ServiceNow. Pat, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us a bit more about who you are and what ServiceNow does.
So I run all of talent for ServiceNow. It's a privilege. I've been here about 18 months, and it's the fourth time I've had the opportunity to run global HR for a public company. But I have to say ServiceNow is probably the fastest growing company I've ever served with and led from a talent perspective. And it has this amazing culture that I'm, blessed to be a part of.
How many employees do you have currently?
We have about 8,600 right now. We'll end the year around 10,500.
Well, how many employees were there when you joined the company?
I joined, there were about 5,000 employees.
Okay,
so in 18 months, they were more than double.
It's very impressive. How would you describe ServiceNow's culture then?
We are a very human-centric, humble company. And what I mean by that is the company tends to speak in plain English language. They tend to avoid acronyms. They tend to want to solve people problems. They tend to listen to our customers. That's how we innovate. The customers have a problem. we partner with them to figure out a solution. And that solution sometimes ends up being in our product portfolio. So we think that we become better together with our customers in a joint collaboration. And I think the employees love serving the customers and their vision and their purpose. So they feel very tied to helping the world work better.
So let's talk a bit more about what is your product and how being a SaaS company maybe influences or impacts the way you engage with your employees?
Sure. So ServiceNow, it's funny, when I first joined, a lot of people didn't know the name, or the company ServiceNow. And since I've joined, the company has continued to grow and get more awareness out there in the marketplace. But we have a purpose statement. Our purpose is to make the world of work better for people. And our products are in service of that. We are an enterprise platform software company. And I think of it in the simplest terms. I mean, I have 3 kids, and they had what we call a Lego table. And this Lego table, they build these amazing cities on top of this platform of Legos. And ServiceNow has a platform that can cross an enterprise seamlessly. And they can connect different ERP systems like a Workday or an Oracle or Salesforce into this enterprise solution and have a connected, user-friendly, consumer-like experience for their employees. And this platform is really easy to innovate on top of. So customers can create applications that sit on top of our product to solve unique problems in their own space. They can help employees with leaves of absence. They can help do financial transactions. They can help process travel requests. They do a lot of service transactions. And if a product that a customer uses becomes more of a trend, more usable, we tend to standardize that so we can sell it as an in-tech product, and our customers that are looking to leverage this platform can say, I want the IT solutions for shared services, for service management or operations management. I want the suite of products that have been more robustly developed and deployed on the platform.
What's interesting to me is obviously your product and the software, the technology that you've built is aimed at facilitating and making easier the workforce experience for your customers. It's connected to not only the purpose as a company, but also how you're going to engage and motivate your employees, how they're going to innovate, how they're going to really focus on customers to be able to build and enhance this product. So what are the connections, what are the ties there between the product that you've built and how you are sort of implementing some of the people-centric methodologies and mindsets and approaches and processes to your own workforce?
I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I joined ServiceNow. I saw the power of the employee experience on this platform. So sometimes people think employee experience is owned by HR, but it's really owned by IT, HR, finance, facilities. It's across this massive ecosystem. And if you simplify the definition of employee experience, it's really fundamentally 3 things. It's culture, your employee value proposition, your practices, your policies that you want to serve your employees with. It is the systems that the employees use to either do their job and or get help to do their jobs or navigate their career while working for this company. And the third leg would be the environment in which they work. And the environment is a mixture of the physical work environment as well as the digital work environment, which ties back to systems because there's so many remote employees. And even if majority of your time spent in a physical office, there's many times you call into a meeting and that's considered a remote experience. So how do you create a connective tissue through systems technology, through human interaction to create an amazing employee experience? Because that's what the employees feel and see. And for ServiceNow, for me, it's super fun because I get to map out with my peers, with Chris Beatty, who's our CIO, the process from courting talent. What does that look like to land them on my company page, to have them look at a job rec, or if we reach out as a recruiter, get them interested in us, to get them to interview, to get them to say, yes, they want to work for ServiceNow, then use our own platform for onboarding. And so what we'll do is if we hire you, you will get a welcome to the ServiceNow community, and it'll be on the mobile app, and it will ask you a whole bunch of questions as you lead to your day one. And these questions will range from, do you like a standing desk, a sitting desk? Do you like a Mac or a PC? What kind of clubs do you participate in? Do you like music? Do you want to get involved in the community at work? What benefits do you need? We know your role is in sales here. What is your travel profile? And we'll feed this to you throughout the 2 weeks or 2 months that you're onboarding and have it interactive. So by the time you come into the office for your day one orientation, it feels like we already know you, and it feels like you already know us, because we've been seeding you with videos from our CEO and culture stuff. And you find your cube, and it's got a standing desk, and it's got your Mac laptop, and it's got the things that you've requested, and it welcomes you to our company, and we're excited to have you part of this community. And then that's all on the ServiceNow platform. It creates this connective tissue, this human engagement through technology. And then I get excited about the possibilities of extending that capability through not only shared services and asking you how I can help, but also I can guide you on your career planning. I can help you in the moments that matter. If you have a new baby, I know that you filled out a new benefit form. I can actually push out bits and pieces to you about being a new parent and, taking care of a newborn, and here's our parenting community, and would you like to be part of that? And so you get, information, what do I need to know? What do I need to do? Do I have care for you? All those things can be woven through this employee experience journey, and technology's enabler. So I think ServiceNow plays a huge role in that.
You joined the company in September of 2017. What was it like before you joined, and what has changed since you came on board as a Chief Talent Officer?
Well, I had the privilege to join about 5 months after a new CEO joined. And John Donahoe came from a consumer background through eBay and PayPal and Bain Consulting. And so he had a very strong belief in having a purpose-driven, enduring company, best place to work mindset. He understood the power of the talent philosophy that would enable the company to achieve its purpose. And when he asked me to join him, knowing the power of this platform, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to help you. And so when I joined, it was what we would call a phase 2 company in the SaaS enterprise space. It was growing. It had validated its product. It was innovating. But to get to a $10 billion plus company, be seen as employer of choice, we had to really double down on investments on talent development. How do you teach leaders to scale? How do you teach us to be global mindset? Innovate faster, to collaborate in a more complex work environment. When it's 3,000 employees, it's easy. When you're 10,000 plus, much harder.
Yes.
And you don't want to lose your agility. And so when I joined, they did not have, from my function perspective, full cycle recruiters. Managers did a lot of self-serve. The team that I inherited did a lot of the transactions supporting the offer, but not really helping source or land talent. That has since changed. We put in place HR business partners to be coaches and guides on org design, executive development, and talent practices in the organization that didn't exist before. Diversity, inclusion, belonging was launched, and looking at what is diversity and the power of diversity, creating a sense of belonging in an organization, and how does that unlock potential and innovation. We launched a more rigorous compensation approach, job profile leveling, just creating what I would call the platform for scale. What is a healthy company? And putting in place development programs to get leaders to be great leaders. I think it's a privilege to lead, and so we need to make sure we have the best leaders there for our employees. And what does that mean to lead in ServiceNow? And so we put a lot of programs in place in the last 18 months that I'm proud of. So engagement's gone up, retention's low. We're feeling really good. It's a great company to be a part of.
It's amazing that in 2 years the company is going to double in size. Many companies, as they grow, they may not be fully prepared to a very quick and high growth. What are some of the challenges that you saw, even in previous organizations such as Yahoo, for instance, and LinkedIn, where you were at before? What are some of the things that you've seen and challenges that companies are facing when they encountering sudden and rapid growth?
Great question. There's a couple of things you have to think about and get in place either right before you scale if you're that smart, or as you scale, you do it really fast. And that is putting in the platform of services. I think of HR as a technology stack. And the foundation of HR to be trusted to scale for a global company, you need to have the right partnerships, the right data integrity, capturing the right data for the employees. You need to have robust systems that can track a candidate, have a great experience with that candidate, get insight. So if you're losing candidates due to a process there, you can see that problem quickly and adapt quickly. So Scrum Agile mindset in your platform, and partnering with people that have been there, done that. So you de-risk your scale. So that's one. So making sure you have a strong HCM suite to capture employee data, making sure that you can capture the queries of managers and employees to serve them better, to pulse their voice, to be more agile in how you serve them. But on top of that, it's the recruiting machine. You really have to define what does great look like. You have to have a really strong, robust compensation job architecture. So there's fairness around the globe. What is a director? What is a manager? What is an individual contributor? How do you pay them? How do you support them? What does a healthy culture look like, and reinforce all those attributes? Because if you grow greater than, say, 20% year over year, you're already risking your culture. We're growing 30% plus. Mm-hmm. And so you have to indoctrinate your culture beliefs from the day you start interviewing, and how you indoctrinate them into the organization. And culture evolves. It's not supposed to be stagnant. And so how do you hire for culture add, not fit, because what worked 2 years ago won't work today? You got to make sure your leaders see that and embrace change. All those things have to be put in place, and you're never going to get it 100%. When you're growing this fast, whatever I implement last year will break this year, which is a bummer. I wish it would last longer, but I know that when you grow this fast, right, you're going to find mistakes, and then you fix them.
I like what you said earlier, that HR doesn't own alone the employee experience, and that different parts of the organization are accountable and own pieces of the entire employee experience. What would be your advice for HR leaders listening to us today on where to start in their employee experience journey? I
would recommend that you do a couple key steps. One is, what is your employee value proposition? What do you want to promise your employees? And how are you manifesting that promise today? For example, if you believe that you're transparent and constructive in your feedback, test yourself. If you have a performance system of some sort, and you have a calibration system of some sort because you believe in pay for performance, are you transparent with employees on what that is and how they can affect their performance and their scores to get better rewards, better promotions, etc.? So are you transparent? Are you manifesting that? The second thing is, after you look at the employee value prop in your culture, is look at the journey of the employee from courting to onboarding to the ramp up of productivity. How long does that take? Do you have data sets to measure that? The bigger transitions to a first-time manager, maybe an expat, maybe a change in job function, who knows, and to offboarding. Map that top-level process out for your company. Then map out the systems that support those exchanges for those employees, and try to score yourself red, yellow, green on health, on how you're serving your employees in those moments that matter. And then ask the employees, what are those moments? When we do really great work with you and we serve your needs, what does that look and feel like? What's the sentiment around that? And if we don't serve you, why not? What broke? And then pick your top 3 and fix those, and then go down and pick the next 3, and so on and so forth. And if you do that with rigor, you will create an amazing journey for our employees. Hands down. You can't be world-class in everything, so you got to pick your battles.
Right.
But you can show you listen, you can build trust, you can show transparency, You can pick those moments that really have the biggest reward for your employees, depending on the challenges of your organization.
And not every part of the organization truly understands the necessity of understanding employees, not customers, but both actually, employees' needs and aspirations, motivations, and so forth. So what would be your advice to get buy-in from the different stakeholders in the organization to actually embrace that full employee experience journey?
What I've done in the past and did a bit here as well is sit down with my CIO, with my head of finance, with my CEO, my head of comms, and said, this is the research. This is why creating a sense of belonging unlocks innovation, why having diversity of skills, perspectives, backgrounds at a table may slow you down, but it makes you a more critical thinker and get to better outcomes, better quality decisions. Don't we want that? When you have a psychological safety, a sense of belonging in your team, you're willing to take risks together and solve problems quicker. Wouldn't you like to be more agile? When you have a employee that is having a major transition moment, like a first-time managers are always wonky. They're never perfect. How fast do you want them to be great? Because employees leave managers. Here's the data. Here's the cost of that turnover. What if we created a program to help managers practice skills before they get the final job? Or when they get the final job, here's their ramp up where we give them a coach, a buddy, training tips and tools, how to hold a one-on-one, how to set goals. Because a lot of managers only have one example, and that's their manager. But what if we gave them more support, more resources during this transition to have a better transition for them and their employees? So I show the data, and then all of a sudden you see the CI go, I can get you that data. And my manager was like, I've had that problem. And we start riffing on what can we do to unlock this and make it better for employees. And then you do surveys about engagement and what's working and what's not, and create a heat map. And they go, I can fix that problem. And you keep bringing the stakeholders in, and I've never met a leader that didn't want to do good. And so you just point the problem out and you brainstorm on some solutions and you pull in their ideas into that solution set. Their DNA is in that legacy. You have buy-in. And then when they see the rewards from that change, that program we just implemented, they want to do more because they see the returns. They see the talent pipeline increasing. They see engagement increasing. They see retention improving, so on and so forth. So it's infectious, kind of like a smile.
That's good. Diversity and inclusion and belonging, as you mentioned, are very important to the organization. What does it mean exactly to ServiceNow, and how do you bring it to life? Do you have a few examples that you can share with us on how you bring that sense of belonging and D&I to the organization?
So first we just teed it up and said, what is it? And why does it matter, the education, right? And diversity is everything that makes you and I unique, and how we identify as who we are. And as I walk into the office every day, I run HR, yes, but I'm also a mom. I'm also dyslexic. I also have a child with special needs. I am also a wife. I have a bunch of things that I bring in to the office every day that I can't leave behind. And so recognizing that we're all complex and we walk in and we have this perspective and these sensibilities, recognizing that as a gift, leaning into that, appreciating it. Inclusion is just the verb of inviting you fairly into the dialogue, into the company, pay parity or pay equality, looking at practices of promotion rates, looking at ensuring that the quieter voices find a way to be heard in an organization. Because out of 8 people, 3 will speak the most. How do you hear the other 5 in a graceful way? How do you set cultural norms that ensure introverts and extroverts find their way? And once you show that and teach that and understand that, then you get this sense over time of safety and belonging, that I matter in my unique way, my authentic way. And you actually want my different point of view. You want me to be either a critical thinker, or you want me to be the cheerleader on this point. You want me to be blank. And that unlocks a lot of positive energy into an organization and innovation. And so we first showed the data. It's a very data-driven organization, as most tech companies are. Then we share the storytelling. So storytelling is the most powerful toolkit we have in the human arsenal. And it unlocks chemicals in our brains that creates empathy and compassion to another human being when you tell a personal story from beginning, middle, and end. And you can't help but connect to that human. So bringing it down to the human, to the individual level of, when you did this, I didn't feel like you wanted me in the room. Like I felt you ignored me, didn't respect me. Here's what that made me do. I got quieter. Or when you recognized me, introduced me, or created space for me, I felt more comfortable to give a different opinion. I felt more comfortable being part of the solution. And I will never look at another company or another team, because I feel like I'm doing my best work right here, right now with you. And these stories teach others how to create these belonging moments. And you can give a belonging moment hundreds of times a day. They're micro moments. It's how we say good morning and stay in the conversation. It's how we introduce one another as human beings, not by titles, showing that we know who we are and what we appreciate in each other, and what we're elevating their subject matter expertise to others. So it gives us a sense of pride. There's so many different ways. And when you do that, people, what I say is they have swag. Their confidence and joy shows. And you can feel in organizations that are healthy like that. They smile, they engage, they chatter in the hallways and the elevators. It just feels really good.
How many different locations do you guys have at ServiceNow?
We have about 9 major. I think we have probably the satellite offices close to 30 around the world. I'd say about 40% of our employees outside the U.S., 60% inside.
How do you create consistency in not only the employer brand's message, but also in terms of the culture and the employee experience across all those locations and regions in the world as well?
Yeah, and I don't think we want to be copy exact in every location, because you want to acknowledge the local culture.
Right, that makes sense.
But you want them to affiliate to the company and its purpose. So last year, John and a few of the key executives went out on a global tour. I think we flew 40,000 miles in 3 weeks.
Wow.
We hit every major location and had offsites with all the employees about, here's our purpose. We make the world of work better for people. And we talked about how the company was founded and the origin stories. We talked about our values, what we're keeping from our history and what we're evolving to. An example of that would have been customer success, very customer-focused organization. And John said, I want to keep that, but I want to evolve that to say our customer success is our success, meaning that when they're actually successful in the implementation, that's when we ring the bell, not when we land the account, but when they actually achieve the results they were looking for, when they solve the problem they were trying to achieve. That's our success. So how do we index on them? How do we serve them better? And so we went around the world and rolled these things out and chatted about it. And then we had homework and asked every employee, does your purpose align with our purpose? Do you have clarity of that? And if not, think about it. And, let's see how this purpose of ServiceNow impacts our customers and their stories, and how they save lives or change the world in creating healthier energy and saving the planet, or, solving complex data problems. You name it. I mean, we touch so many customers, and their purposes are different than ours. And once you personalize the purpose, you unlock some more energy, and then you reinforce that. Every all hands, we just are rolling out a State of the Union kind of address. We're giving an update on our 2019 goals and our performance of 2018, and repeating our purpose and our values and what we're excited about doing, and why what we do matters more than ever. And so you just reinforce it every day you can.
HR is going through the same disruption as marketing went through 10, 15 years ago, with the rise of data and artificial intelligence and more personalization around the contents and the experiences. How does ServiceNow leverage employee data and AI to drive employee engagement?
Wow, good. We're on that journey. There's so much technology out there and partnerships. We use machine learning and AI now within ServiceNow, but we use Workday and partnering with IBM, with Watson, and looking at how do you look at the funnel of talent when they land on your company page and create a chat bot that says, tell me more about you, and if you're interested in a job, and if so, what are your interests? And you kind of lead them to open job recs. And you use AI and machine learning to help people stay engaged, to answer their questions, to get them to the results that they want quicker, better, faster. And you use it to speak in human language. And we learn, did we solve your problem? If not, why not? And get smarter as we go. And so I think machine learning and AI are phenomenal. I think the data insights that we gain just get better over time. I think that when you use that data and you look at what creates a healthier environment and you share, this is what I heard to the employees, this is why we're adapting, we just build more trust and more capability. So I get excited. Machine learning and AI may automate some processes and change some roles in HR, but it won't remove jobs necessarily. It'll just elevate their ability to have bigger impact.
Do you see technology as reducing or enhancing the human touch and human interactions?
I think in some pockets it might reduce it because the question was a simple, repeatable, scalable question answer, which is perfect. I think it enhances the human connection because by the time you get to me or to a service provider, a person, it's more nuanced of a question. It's not only do I need to enroll my baby into benefits, but by talking and seeking more information, I realized that your child was born premature. I realized that you might need more specialized help, and the human will help you navigate a little bit more intuitively with more compassion. And so if you can just get some of the fundamental processes answers to reduce friction, to reduce anxiety, by the time the human engagement comes in, it's more about care. It's the next level up. Same thing with development. If you can do self-learning for skill 1 and 2, but you need a coach to really give you feedback and process how you're applying certain skills and what scares you from stretching yourself, that's a whole nother level. And you free up people to do that versus repeating the same fundamental skills. It just gives you more breadth.
How do you measure the impact on your EX initiatives at ServiceNow on the overall business performance?
It touches us in a lot of different ways, and you'll find the digital scorecard that companies are looking to create will look at both efficiency gains, right, productivity, and if you can increase productivity, you can increase output and tackle bigger challenges. You can look at reducing costs. And if you can reduce costs, then you can invest that capital elsewhere for more innovation, product, customer support. So it allows a company to make bigger choices, better investments by improving efficiency, productivity, et cetera. So what we find at ServiceNow as we go through our process automation scorecard is how can we improve time to fill, cases closed, how fast can we close a case by self-serve versus human interaction? By the time we get to human action, do we get smarter and better and faster? Can we predict needs and so we can anticipate them and put them in place before we even get an outreach? And so that just frees us up to invest in other ways better, right? And if I can save costs, then I can perhaps give better benefits to my employees. I can reinvest into talent, which helps the company become a better, attractive company to work for. If I can improve time to fill, then I can improve productivity in engineering and quota attainment in sales, right? You can have better predicted talent flows. So it touches the company in so many varied ways.
It's very hard for companies to really be able to, as you guys do at ServiceNow, to put in place metrics and scorecards to really monitor the impact, the connection and the impact of employee engagements on, let's say, different teams' performances, right? Because many companies just limit their employee engagement initiatives at sending out a survey maybe once or twice a year. They have 60, 65%, 80% of high engagements, and that's it. They just feel content with how people feel about working at the company. But they don't go beyond and try to measure whether a low or high engagement has an impact on the business. And
that's such an opportunity in front of you. I mean, you can do so many causation or correlation analysis. If you do a program, most companies will have a leadership program, for example. They'll ask vice presidents to go to a program for 2 days. I'm making this up, and this investment is X thousands of dollars per employee plus time spent. So a big investment for an organization. If you can show that employee engagement, leadership effectiveness increases as a result of those leaders that have gone through that class versus those that have not, then that class has a huge ROI. And then if you can turn engagement into productivity, if you can track diversity of team and output for quota and customer sat scores by having a diverse team that can sell to diverse customers, you can correlate a lot if you just pull the thread. And I love doing that. I love doing that while at LinkedIn. I love doing that at ServiceNow. I think ServiceNow is a great platform to pull a lot of these disparate parts together, your employee voice engagement surveys, plus what's in your LMS for training, plus what's in your onboarding, your on-hire surveys, good, bad, or indifferent. Can you start pulsing sentiment? I think the world is just now pivoting and leveraging technology to go deeper and learning exactly where to pivot and focus your energy on. I'm having fun.
It sounds like it, definitely. So you've been in HR for quite some time. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the HR function has drastically changed. Now, I myself studied marketing when I was in college, and marketing today has nothing to do with what I learned in school 20 years ago. So let's take a look at the next 5, maybe to 10 years, and where do you see the HR function?
I think that because of technology, it's going to change the value proposition of HR in an organization to be the employee experience advocate in partnership with these other constituents in the organization. We're going to unlock talent capability and skills, not only for today, but for the future. It's insurance to scale. If you create a talent brand and align your employees to a purpose, you will have better alignment of goals and less waste of energy in the organization. So talent leaders will use technology and insights more robustly. I think what I've told some of my peers, we shouldn't compete on creating a healthy company for our employees. Creating a healthy employee experience should be what we all pursue and share. We should compete in the market on our products. And democratizing these best practices of employee experience, teaching each other how to look at the employee journey, and making it the best we can for the financial envelope that we are given is probably what we should all lock arms and do. If you do that, you create a healthier workforce, and a healthier workforce helps the communities in which they live and work. And I think that is one of our obligations, is to help the community and social responsibility around us.
Can you share with us what it's like to work at ServiceNow? How your office space is? What kind of fun activities do you do? How do you support your local communities?
We just got a corporate social responsibility vision created in the last 6 months. We were thinking about where do we want to focus our energies. We do a lot in the community, but not focused. And so now we're going, okay, let's figure out a couple of things that we want to rally around consistently around the world, still allowing flexibility for individual passions, but what do we stand for? And so one is food insecurity. That's global. We know with food insecurity, it's hard to go to school, it's hard to do well at work, it's hard to concentrate. And so helping with that is a big deal. The second one is reskilling of talent. So we know that with the progression of technology, machine learning, AI, and replacing repetitive, scalable jobs, how do you teach these multiple demographics and generations in your organization to reskill in a way that they can feel really good about the new skills, anticipate it, feel like they're in control of their destiny and have choices and earn a better wage. And so we're going to look at ways to influence reskilling and partnerships around the world to encourage education, again, democratize learning, passions, help guide, make it more human friendly so people don't fear it as much and actually can improve their quality of life. So those are the two big ones from the social responsibility. We do a perks, and I think about perks. I think the biggest perk about ServiceNow is our culture. I mean, we're so human, and we're not entitled as an organization. We're so kind. I love walking the hallways. That's a huge deal for me. I think the second thing, I mean, we have free snacks and we have some game rooms and stuff that you would find typically in Silicon Valley or other companies. We have some gyms that we support, some wellness programs we support. But nothing too extravagant. Our workspaces are more open and collaborative, more natural, to allow people to come together and problem solve together. We're leveraging technology enablement to make sure we bring the community together and using video around the world to see people. I think 90% of our conversations, body language. You know, we don't index on a lot of perks that you would typically think of.
Good. Well, I would say that the culture is the number one perk, right? If everybody is happy at work and very engaged and they're fulfilled in what they're doing on the day-to-day basis, that's the biggest perk they can get.
I agree with you. I think our culture is the perk.
So before we end our conversation today, let me ask you some fun questions. What was your dream job growing up as a kid?
My dream job as a kid was to probably be a emergency room doctor. I thought that would be
that's quite different.
Rewarding and very busy. I wouldn't be bored.
Nice. What turns you on?
Laughter and adventures. Doing something I've not done before. What
kind of adventures?
Learning how to surf, scuba diving somewhere that I've never been to, taking a hike and discovering a cabin that existed 100 years ago that's still standing, just going around the world and taking an off-beaten path and seeing culture that many people don't appreciate. I love that.
Yes, I love it too. What turns you off?
Demeaning behavior where people don't listen to one another.
That's a good one too. What was your biggest screw up at work and what did you learn from it?
I've screwed up so many times. What I've done is, and I had a mentor a while back that taught me I had a major screw up, and through arrogance, I was in charge of an Oracle implementation business readiness, and I was doing a scorecard and my data was 100% right. And I showed 4 or 5 of these divisions in semiconductor that were going to fail. And I pissed off a lot of people. And my CEO was in the room and he called the meeting to a halt because it was not constructive. And my boss said, well, that was a failure. I'm like, yeah, what should we do? And he said, not we, you. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? My data was right. Because I think you need to and talk about it tomorrow. And the next day I came back and I said, I did the right process, but I did the wrong thing. My goal was to make the business ready. What I did is show them that they were screwed up. And I did not ensure their success. I didn't do everything I could, make sure they were ready for change. He was what are you going to do? And I'm going to turn around and make them successful. It's about them, not me. I didn't need to be the smartest person in the room. I should have been the wisest. Always be the wisest. Understand the spirit of what you're doing.
If you were to invite a historical figure to dinner or someone famous to dinner, who would you pick and why?
Eleanor Roosevelt. I would pick her because I think she was daring and amazing and such a unique individual that stood for her own beliefs, even when people didn't agree with her. She had the courage to stand alone and be counted.
We talked about your sense of adventure. What is your favorite vacation spot then?
love Santa Barbara. My husband went to college in Santa Barbara, so being on the beach and looking at sea glass, I love that. And a quiet walk with my dog, and my kids. So anywhere with my family is a vacation.
Outside of California, any specific post?
I love Israel. I love, so many things. I love Singapore. I love Costa Rica, swimming in Costa Rica. I love the countryside of England. I love Dublin cliffs and old castles and waterfalls. I love the waterways of Amsterdam.
What is the way for our listeners to follow you and ServiceNow on social media?
Just look for ServiceNow on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn or at Twitter at Pat Wadors.
Any last word of advice or wisdom for our listeners?
Be human-centric. If in HR, bring the human back into the process, into the system, and ask yourself how people feel. Sentiment and humanity matter, and then you'll unlock their potential.
I love it. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Pat, to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I wish you all the best. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for tuning in to the EX Podcast. If you want to learn more, visit our website at expodcast.com. If you want to find out more about our next conferences, go to exsummit.com. Finally, you can also find my manifesto on business to employee or B2E branding at b2ebranding.co. See you next week.